A lot of people all over the world love Rick Harrison from Pawn Stars on the History Channel. Not many people can say that about someone else. That's why it was so shocking when rumors started to spread that Rick was going to spend the rest of his life in jail. The fact that Rick has had some pretty major legal problems and personal problems in his life has made this rumor get more attention. Let's look at what happened to Rick Harrison and find out how he is doing now. John Richard Harrison and Joanne Rue Harrison had Rick on March 22, 1965. His parents had 4 children: Sherry, Joseph, Rick, and Chris. Rick was the middle child. Rick first dealt with terrible disasters when he lost his sister Sherry Joanne Harrison when he was very young. They had their first child, Sherry, who was born with Down syndrome. She died too soon when she was only 6 years old. Rick had epileptic seizures when he was 8 years old, which made things even worse. He had to spend a lot of time in bed reading books while his seizures went on and on. His love of books and reading, especially things about physics and history, grew from that point on. Some of his favorite books are by John D. Fitzgerald and are called The Great Brain. They are about a Utah con artist named Tom D. Fitzgerald who grew up to be Rick's inspiration. Rick went to San Diego's Taft Middle School as a teen but dropped out in the 10th grade to make $2,000 a week selling fake Gucci bags. But everything changed when his folks' real estate business went out of business. In April 1981, the family had to move to Las Vegas, Nevada. Rick had to deal with another problem when his girlfriend Kim got pregnant. Rick bravely chose to become a dad even though he was still pretty young. The young pair lost their first child to a miscarriage, which was another terrible tragedy. Still, they didn't give up, and a year later they got married. Then they had their first child, Corey, who grew up to be very successful and an important part of the family business. After 2 years they were happy to have their second child, Adam. Another bad thing happened here. Rick and Kim broke up not long after Adam was born. Rick wasn't a single dad for long though. He began dating Tracy only 9 months after getting divorced. They went out together for 8 months before getting married a year after he got divorced. And now that they had a new partner, they were responsible for taking care of Corey and Adam. Rick had to find a better way to make money now that his family was bigger. Rick had to help his dad with the new business when he opened a 300-square-foot store on Las Vegas Boulevard South selling used gold and silver coins. At the time, Rick was taking back cars at night. For example, we already said that Rick liked physics and history. He had no idea that the things he learned in those classes would help him with the new business his family was starting. Rick's knowledge of history helped the shop do well because he could back up every item with facts from history. After 5 years, the family moved to a better location on Fremont Street. But after 2 years they had to move again because their lease was up. Later, he and his dad thought it would be a good idea to turn the store into a pawn shop. One problem they had though was that they couldn't become a full-fledged pawn shop because of a law in Las Vegas that said the city could only give out a certain number of pawn licenses. So they planned to apply for a loan license as soon as there were enough people living in the city. It took some legal trouble, but they finally got their pawn license. The father and son started the gold and silver pawn shop at 713 Las Vegas Boulevard South in the same year. It is close to the Las Vegas Strip. At first, the father and son shop was mostly about selling unique sports and history items. But jewelry quickly became their most popular item. Their business grew and became well known in Las Vegas over time. Rick was now a co-founder of the show and shop. He worked hard to grow the pawn shop business and spent most of his life there. With millions of dollars in loans every year, by 2005 they were making hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest. The next year the shop became famous for having unique sports items with interesting backstories. They also helped gamblers who needed money for gas to get home by letting them pawn things. As they got bigger and more famous, the History Channel became interested. This is how Pawn Stars came to be. One thing that did very well was jewelry. Their business grew and became well known in Las Vegas over time. Rick was now one of the founders of the show and shop. He spent most of his life working hard to make the pawn shop business bigger and better. When they reached 2005, they were lending millions of dollars every year and making hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest. The next year the shop became famous for having unique sports items with interesting backstories. They also helped gamblers who needed money for gas to get home by letting them pawn things. As they got bigger and more famous, the History Channel became interested. This is how Pawn Stars came to be. The idea for Pawn Stars came from Brent Montgomery and Colby Gaines of Left Field Pictures. They loved the wide range of interesting and sketchy pawn shops in Las Vegas in 2008. They looked for a family-owned shop to base a TV show on because they thought these places could have interesting personalities. They found the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop in the end. It was less than 2 miles from the Las Vegas Strip. In 2001, this shop was the subject of a PBS program. Rick had been wanting a show about his shop for years. He had been on an episode of Insomniac with Dave Attell before in 2003. HBO was first told about the show, but they didn't like the idea. But they let it be changed into the style we enjoy now that is good for families. It was first called Pawning History, but they changed it to Pawn Stars because that was a better name for what they were shooting. The name is a fun play on the words porn stars. The famous Gold and Silver Pawn Shop in Las Vegas, Nevada was the first place where the show was filmed. Most of the things that are pawned there are gold, but people also bring in a lot of old or vintage things. The store is usually closed to the public while it's being filmed, and only a few people who have been given permission can go inside. Because of the show, the Harrison family became well known. A lot of people watched it, liked it, and wanted more, which helped the show grow and come back every year. By 2011, Pawn Stars was the most watched show on the History Channel and the second most watched reality show after Jersey Shore. Rick published his autobiography based on Deals, Steals, and My Life at the Gold and Silver. It made it to number 22 on the New York Times bestseller list that same year. Rick split up with his second wife Tracy that same year. He got engaged to Deanna Burdett, who was also divorced the next year. He had been divorced twice before. Rick was pleased that the show was doing well and that his fan base was growing. In an episode of iCarly called I Lost My Head in Vegas, he, Corey, and Chumley played themselves. After 4 days, Rick played the owner of an antique shop in an episode of The Middle, a different show. This is about the time he got married to Deanna Burdett in Laguna Beach, California. Rick got 3 stepdaughters from this marriage. Their names are Serena, Sienna, and Marissa. The History Channel first showed the game show Pornography in July 2014, show where Rick, Corey, and Chumley compete against other contestants to stop them from winning cash and things from the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop. Unfortunately, Rick and his family would go through a string of terrible events, starting with the death of the family father. In June 2018, Rick lost his dad. Rick told over 250,000 Instagram fans that his father had died. Parkinson's disease was blamed as the cause. A Harrison family representative stated that the patriarch had died. There was a close-up picture of Rick's 77-year-old dad wearing a black suit, glasses, and a fedora. Rick also wrote a touching ode to the man who had helped him run the family business. Richard Benjamin, better known as Old Man Harrison, died this morning with his family by his side. Our family will miss him a lot, his many friends all over the world, and the staff at Gold and Silver Pond. The History Channel also said in an emotional statement that it was sad about the death of the old man. We are very sad to say that our friend Richard the Old Man Harrison has died. He was a beloved part of the History and Pawn Stars family. We will miss how smart and honest he was. During this hard time, our thoughts are with the Harrison family. Rick also talked about how his father had an effect on his life, was my hero, and I was lucky to have a cool dad like him. I'm glad I could share him with so many people who could see what a great family man he was. He also said that he had a full life and that Pawn Stars had helped many people learn how important family, hard work, and fun are. Thanks to everyone who has thought about and prayed for us. Asked to be left alone during this time. Added a second picture of his dad in the Navy when he was young and wrote, "Today I lost a friend, a father, a teacher, and so much more." The old man died this morning after a long fight with Parkinson's.